We will start. So call to order. My name is Martin Shipston. Being the chair of the Committee of Adjustment, I call this meeting to start at 9 a.m. And the committee members include members of council. However, we sit at this table as the Committee of Adjustment and not as members of council. Our jurisdiction lies solely with matters of consents, excuse me, and minor variance applications. Secretary of the committee is Alicia Eagle. This is a hearing to consider applications for minor variances and consents within the Township of Southgate and is held under the provisions of the Planning Act 1990. This hearing will be in accordance with the Provincial Planning Act, the Municipal Act, and the Township of Southgate official plan. So to start, may I get a confirmation of the agenda? I need a mover and a seconder.
I'll move it.
I'll second it. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, John. Any discussion? Hearing none, be it resolved that the committee confirm the agenda as presented. Excuse me. And as always, a declaration of pecuniary interest, if there is any, you can say it now. And hearing none, we can always declare any interest in anything that arises during the course of the meeting. And we come to the adoption of the minutes. May I get an approval of the minutes from the previous meeting? I need a mover and seconder, please.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Jim.
And I'll second it.
Thank you, John. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go right into the report of municipal officers. And Lindsay, you have the table.
Sorry, I was just, I just want to caution everybody just before I start. I've muted a few people just because of background noise, so you might have to unmute your phone because I may have muted you. So, can you hear me okay, Martin?
Yes, I can, love. Very, very clear.
Okay, so we just have a report here. Clinton could elaborate as well, too. So we've received, let me just pull it up here. We have a request from a member of the public that submitted an application quite some time ago for severance, I believe. This is the part that Clint can elaborate on. But so he submitted an application quite a few years, I believe it was 2004. And what happened was it wasn't actually legally merged. So nothing was merged properly and no deeds were stamped. So that's obviously an issue. So basically the application didn't do anything, even though the applicant took the necessary steps, paid the necessary fees at the time, and obviously wanted it to happen, and it didn't. So I confirmed with our lawyer, and they are just advising that we redo the consent. And as it was an issue on staff's end back in 2004, we were wondering if the committee would waive the fees for the new application.
Okay.
So Clint, maybe you can elaborate more on the purpose of the application, just so it's more clear.
Sure. As you can see, there's a property outlined on the screen there. The property immediately to the north, there's a little small residential property there. At the very back of that property is a workshop, and that workshop was severed off and supposedly added to the property with the pond, the larger property there. However, as we've discovered, for whatever reason, that was not properly registered by the township at the time, and therefore, despite going through the process, those two parcels were never merged to begin with. So that's they want to do this because they want to sell the house. The person who owns the small lot wants to sell the house, but they don't want to do that and with the shop still attached. That should go with the other property. So it's a correction of title here, really.
Yeah. Okay, and so they're basically reapplying them, and we're just waiving the fees because of past snafu, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So we've
Okay.
already received the applications. We were just bringing this forward to see if the fees could be waived.
Well, looking at it on the computer here, I personally have no problem, especially when it was a snafu on the legal end in the township. And if that person on the smaller property wants to sell the house at 141280, it makes sense to meld that bigger workshop with the other property because there are laneways going to and from it as well. So I have no problem with it. John, Jim, do you have any comments?
I'll move that we waive the fee.
I think it's high time we resolve the problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a mover and a seconder to waive the fees.
I'll move that.
Okay. And then I guess that is carried. Is there, Lindsay, is there a bylaw to read or something with this?
No,
to acknowledge
we're
that?
good. We're good. Just the resolution. Thank you.
Okay, and that is, okay, be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment received staff report CL 2020-025 as information, and that the committee waive the application being submitted by, so. Is a minor variance for Luciano Serafini of 7 Wilson Crescent. Anything to say about this, Clinton?
Well, I've written a report there. This is a minor variance application, so with a minor variance, it has to meet the 4 tests going forward. And I'm just trying to get through my comments here to my report. Where is it here? Pardon me, here will I get to the front of the report. There we go. So, yes, it's amending 2 provisions in the bylaw. Mr. Serafini is looking to add a deck to his backyard. Unfortunately, with the size of his house that's there, that doesn't allow a lot of room for a very big deck. So it has to meet the 4 tests being, is it desirable? Does it conform with the official plan? Does it conform with the zoning bylaw? And is it appropriate for the area and minor in nature? So I've gone through those tests, and it's increasing the lot coverage by 16% to 46% of the lot, which which may seem like significant. And in future, I'm going to suggest that the township consider policy on this a little bit more. With climate change, that's a really big, one of the major concerns for Dundalk, particularly, and all of Broken for that matter, because we're getting more water and more intense storms, and the more we cover with buildings and structures, the more difficult it is for the water to penetrate the ground, and then we end up with flooding. So in this case, we're still under 50%, which is good. But we may want to look at some policy in the future to make that a little more robust, so that we truly consider those going forward.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Before we go any further, I apologize for being remiss. This property is in the township of Southgate, also described as 7 Wilson Crescent. Again, I apologize. Is there a request for deferral or withdrawal of the application? If so, we can't. If none, we can proceed, right? Or
Yes,
something like that?
there was none received.
Okay, and may I have clarification that all the signs were posted?
Yes, the sign was posted and notice was given.
Okay. And would the applicant be there, Lindsay, or no?
I am here.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Okay. Do you have anything to say about this, the applicant here?
No, I don't. No, I'm just hoping that we can come to a mutual agreement and move forward.
Okay. And so, Clint, you've already done all that.
I was going to go over some of the comments
Yep,
that
thank
we
you.
had received.
Yep.
Okay, so we circulate this to the various agencies and internally. And so the first off, our building department didn't have any objections. In speaking with them, they did recommend a survey be provided simply because the fence lines are a bit wishy-washy, and we want to ensure that we're actually providing enough of a variance for this, so we don't have to go through this again.
May I interrupt on that?
No.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Just wait until we're done, and then you'll have your chance.
Okay, sorry.
The Grand River Conservation Authority has no objection to the minor variance. So that's we would take their comments very seriously, especially with, as I mentioned, with respect to drainage and lot coverage. The County of Grey indicates that they have no concerns with the subject application and request a notice of the decision. The Historic Saugeen Métis have no concerns or objections. Public Works indicate if safe access can be provided, and that the property is required to be on municipal water and sanitary sewer services, which it is. They also note it's in the Wellhead Protection Area D, which is managed through public outreach and education programs. And I believe that's all of the comments that I've received. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Serafini, did you have something to say?
Yes, concerning the survey for the lot, the dimensions were made at the very minimum. There was already a fence pre-built there, a chain link fence, which was put up on our property because neighbors did not want to pay for the fencing. Those measurements are made to that fencing, which is half a foot on the back lot and 1 foot on either side of the side lots on my property. And that's where I made those deck measurements from the deck to that fencing, to that property line. That's what I use as a base.
Okay.
That's good information.
Sorry?
I said that's good information to know. We certainly didn't have that in there or knowledge before. So.
And Clinton, Martin here. With that being said, would a survey have to be provided then, or just
No, it's really up to the committee here at this point. For something like this, I imagine he wants to get it done sooner rather than later, and I imagine getting a survey at this late in the season is pretty difficult, if not impossible. So with that knowledge that he's shared before the committee, we could waive that particular condition.
Okay. And you mentioned that there is still enough land to do that water storm. There's it's well within the parameters of what we need, right? For whatever.
Yes.
14%.
I would just maybe caution the landowner to maybe not make it all concrete underneath his deck 100%. Otherwise, he may end up with flooding problems, and then he'll end up with some problems that he doesn't want.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, any comments from the committee?
I'm just looking at the building report here, and it says no concerns. He will need a building permit for this project, won't he?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And I don't have any concerns here. And I agree with Clint about taking to council about the lot coverages and that for climate change. And I'm on the county climate change, so we may be coming up committee. So I may be coming up with, or they may be coming up with some guidelines or things like that. So that was a good comment.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is true, Clinton. Thank you for bringing that to attention, because part of the trouble in the cities is everything's paved. That's why they're getting the flash floods from just one thunderstorm. So it's important to recognize that. And if Mr. Serafini kind of recognizes that too, with the amount of concrete under the deck, then I think we're all good to go. I think, in my opinion, because he mentioned new information, that fees be waived for this, no survey. I guess there are other conditions of, new taxes, and the building permit and what have you, but I'm okay with waiving the survey. As you say, Clinton, it's in time. Everybody in favor of that?
Yeah.
Is there already a legal survey for this property?
It would have been part of a plan of subdivision, so other than the original survey, it certainly wouldn't show where the fence lines are today. The fence lines would have come up after.
Okay.
The survey has been done, so that's the main thing.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm just pulling it up here. So the application to vary section 8.2D and 8.2H, the erection of a deck that increases the overall lot coverage and rear yard setback passes the floor test of a minor variance as required by the Planning Act. So
Martin, it's just the motion off Clint's report. Do you want me to read it?
yeah, if you can. I'm between my iPad and my laptop here. And
Oh, that's okay.
so if you could read that, love, that would be great. Thank you.
So we'll just take out the one clause about a survey by the sounds of this. So the motion would read, be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment receives staff report PL 2020-032 for information, and that the minor variance be approved subject to the following conditions: that all outstanding taxes, fees, and charges are paid, if any. So we just need a mover and a seconder.
Yep. So
Yeah. We also need to open up for comments from the public before we vote on that.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I don't mind mind moving it when the time comes.
Yeah. Is there any comments from the public present? Not hearing any. Any more comments from the committee?
No.
Okay, so again, I'll request a mover and a second to grant the application. Thank you, Lindsay, for reading it. All in favor?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, that's carried. Thank you.
Sorry, John, did you move that? And Jim seconded?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and that's that then? We can move on.
Yep.
Thank you, Lindsay. The next one is for Brendan McDonald at 185-237 Gray Road 9. And was there a request for deferral or withdrawal of this, Clinton or Lindsay?
None received.
Thank you, Clinton. So, may I please have clarification that all the signs were posted?
Yes, the sign was posted and notice was given.
Okay, is the applicant in attendance?
Good morning, everyone. The applicant, I do not believe is on the call today, but I am his agent, Genevieve Scott from Questa Planning, and I'm here to respond to any questions.
Oh, okay, thank you. So, Clinton, it's, again, up to you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll read out the comments. Again, the council has already seen this, and so therefore you three have already seen it wearing a different hat at council for the zoning and the official plan amendment that was required for this consent. So this consent is really just sort of working through the last step in that rather lengthy process to amend the official plan and zoning to create a surplus farm severance on this lot. I'll read out the comments that we received. When I was on vacation last week, so I had to write my reports early. So some of the comments didn't make it to the agenda, and therefore like, for example, the County of Grey, I don't believe made it to the agenda, so I will be reading those separately from what's in my report. Bell Canada had no concerns. The building department had no concerns. The Historic Saugeen Métis had no objection or opposition. Hydro One had no concerns. The MTO indicated it's not within their permit control area. It's nice to see them comment. SPCA indicate that the proposed consent is accepted. The Public Works Department indicate that the consent is on a county road and therefore is county jurisdiction. And I believe we have a County of Grey comment that came in. And it basically says, the County Planning Department previously provided comments for the zoning bylaw amendment, and staff would encourage the applicant to review those comments. Regarding the subject consent, County Planning staff have no concerns at this time, and then provided that all comments are addressed from our previous zoning bylaw comments, County staff have no concerns.
Okay.
And so that's all of the comments I received. There were no comments from the public received on this file. So
Okay.
I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Clint. Any comments from the committee? John, Dave, Jim?
No comment here.
Okay.
Straightforward.
The rep from Coester, do you have anything to say or any comments?
Not at this time. We concur with the recommendations of the staff report. Just from a practical perspective, I do feel that we had originally received comments from Grey County Transportation about removing one of the laneways on the severed parcel. My client is certainly willing to comply with that request. We don't have any objection to it, but it is a status quo scenario where we're not putting another entrance on that road. So it's more the county taking an opportunity to get rid of one rather than it being something that, it's a bit of overkill, but we will agree to it.
Okay. And
Other than that, we have no comment, and we would respectfully request approval of the application today. Thank you.
Okay. And Clinton, you said there were no comments from the public?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm in favor. Can I have a mover and a seconder to grant the application?
Martin, we just have to ask if anyone wants to speak.
Okay. I'll again ask the committee members if there's anybody who have further discussion on the matter,
Or members of the public to speak.
or members of the public listening in. Hearing none, I apologize. I request a mover and a seconder to grant the application. All in favor? Mover and seconder?
I'll move it.
And I'll second it.
I think I'll
Okay,
read
that
it
is-
out. I'll read it out, Councillor Shipston, just for the record.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to find it, so if you
It's
could
okay.
continue
Yeah,
doing
I
that,
can do
Lindsay.
So,
Yeah, thank you so
motion
much.
is, be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment receives staff report PL 2020-030 for information, and that the severance be approved with the following conditions: that the eastern laneway of the severed lot is to be removed, that an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment implementing the consent be in full force and effect, that a deed is prepared and submitted to the clerk, that a survey be provided, and that all outstanding taxes, fees, and charges are paid, if any.
Okay. So, all in favor?
Yeah.
Yep.
I assume that is carried then. So thank you. And the next one on the docket is Mount Forest Ag Auction Cooperative Inc. 411-368 Side Road 41, RR1, Mount Forest, Ontario, NOG 2L0. And it was again a request for deferral or withdrawal of this application. Hearing none, is the applicant in attendance? And if so, would they like to come forward to present their case? Hearing none or no one, Clint, can you review all your comments and report, please?
Yes. So this consent is actually connected with the second consent as well, B2. For that's next on the docket there. Basically, it's I'll call it a land swap for lack of a better term, where Mr. Fry, who owns the larger farm parcel, requires a little extra land in order to build a workshop in his yard, to keep it far enough to maintain those distances away from some of those residential lots. Given the topography of this land, I don't know if any of the committee members drove by it, but it's quite steep and sloped and whatnot in certain sections, and therefore the land being added to Mr. Fry's property is better suited to developing this shop than it is for providing parking and whatnot for the auction house, which is what they need. And so Mr. Fry is then adding same amount of land to do that auction house at the rear of his property. So there is a drawing in my report and also in the application, which fairly clearly indicates that it's about the same amount of area. So it is like for like. They're just better suited. It truly is a double lot line adjustment in that sense. Mm-hmm. So I'll just get to my comments here. I can. I have a report here somewhere. There we go. Okay, so comments received from agencies for both. I'm going to do for both applications because my report actually speaks to both of them. So Bell Canada has no concerns. The building department has no concerns. The historic Saugeen Métis have no objection. Hydro One has no comment or objection. Public Works indicate that a 3-meter road widening is required for the severed and retained portions for both applications. The SPCA find the applications acceptable. The Blue Water District School Board have no concerns. And Enbridge Gas have service lines in the area, and if the development impacts on those services to the extent that they must be relocated, the cost will be at the owner's expense. I won't anticipate that, as it's simply a swap of lands. And there's no comments received from the public, and I believe there was a comment from the County of Grey. Just let me get to that. Just 1 second here.
No problem.
I'm working from 2 screens here as well.
Yeah.
So no, I don't have a comment from the County of Grey in either application. However, I don't know if Lindsay received one or not.
If it's not on the website, I would say probably not, but
Okay.
that's not for sure.
Okay, well,
I think similar to the last one, they commented when it came to the zoning amendment. So
Yeah, that could be it.
they didn't on this.
So it can move forward without it being here in this actual report then. So
yeah, I don't suspect, and that's one of the benefits of doing the zoning first, is you sort of get their comments before this kind of date. So I wouldn't suspect they would have negative comments. So I think it is okay to proceed.
And as you say, Clinton, it is just basically a land swap to benefit both parties. So
Yes.
Yeah, so that's fine. Okay. Any, John, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I'm just
Questions?
wondering,
Jim, go ahead.
is this 2 homes going in here?
No. The lands being added from the farm to the auction house are going to be for parking. And the lands from the auction house to the farm are going to be so that they can place a workshop. I believe it's going to be a bicycle repair or some sort of metal work like repair shop, or it could even be small engine repair. I'm not sure.
Okay. Any other questions, Jim?
No, I just hit the wrong button here and I've lost everything.
No. How about you, John?
This one came before council for a zoning thing, and it's one of those that just makes sense. They're going to get better use out of both pieces of the property, and it's just another cleanup as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, I'm very much in favor.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a comment now. This came before us, and they stated that the gentleman that was going to do the work in the new building was a licensed mechanic. Then they scratched that out. So I'm just wondering whether or not, if they're doing vehicle repairs in there, whether or not they have to be licensed.
Well, certainly, if they have to go through OMVIC, they actually they require a letter from me if they go through OMVIC to get a license that way to do safeties and that sort of thing. If it's just like a small engine repair, I'm not sure you actually need an official license for that. That's not my area of expertise, but there's certainly the use itself is what we're talking about more specifically in this case. I think in terms of their proposal is to put a shop there, which we already addressed in the zoning.
Yeah.
There will be a site plan come forward next week, which will deal specifically with that new shop that they're putting in.
Okay.
And it's tractor engine repair is what they're saying.
Yeah, that's what I remember from the original thing when Clint first brought it up. So, okay. Anybody else online in attendance that would like to speak in support of this application? Hearing none. Anyone in attendance that'd like to speak in opposition of this application? Hearing none. Hearing none, the committee members, can we go ahead and do a mover and a seconder to grant this application, or do we need more time to talk? I don't think we do, but I'll put it out there.
No, I would move it.
Okay. John, I'll second.
Martin,
Yes?
it's Alicia. I just want to also confirm that the sign was posted and notice was given for these applications as well.
Oh, okay. Didn't I ask that at the beginning? I apologize. That's good. So we have
Martin,
a mover and a seconder.
I'll read it out then for the record.
Well, I actually have it online now.
Okay.
Can I read it?
Yes.
Okay. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment received staff report PL 2020-031 for information, and that the severance be approved with the following conditions. That a 3-meter road widening is provided on the severed and retained portion of application B120, and a 3-meter road widening from the retained portion of BT-20, that the zoning bylaw amendment is in full force and effect, and that a survey be provided, and that all outstanding taxes, fees, and charges are paid, if any. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's carried. The next one is for William Penny, Plan 480, Block Quarter Part Lot 8. Yes? Lot 9, Geographic Village of Dundalk. Is there a request for deferral or withdrawal of this application?
None received.
Okay, thank you, Clinton. And may I please have clarification that the sign was posted?
Yes, the sign was posted and the notice was given.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant in attendance? I do not hear anything, so Clinton?
Okay, I'll start by reading the comments received going forward. So just let me get to my report here.
Clint, I believe Mr. Penny is online. William, can you hear us? Okay, he is online.
Doesn't
So
sound like.
okay, go ahead, Clint.
Okay, maybe. Okay. So the first set of comments we had was from Bell Canada, indicating that there were no concerns. The building department indicated that an engineered lot grading plan is required. Enbridge Gas indicated that service lines are in the area, and if the development disrupts those lines, any relocation would be at the expense of the property owner. That's a fairly standard comment. Grand River Conservation Authority have no objection. The Historic Saugeen Métis have no objection. The MTO indicated it's outside of their permitting area. Public Works indicate that the property is within a wellhead protection area B, which restricts Dean Apples and is managed by Education and Outreach. They're indicating a lot grading and drainage plan is required to ensure proper drainage is dealt with on the property so as not to impact the roadway or the adjacent neighboring properties. A public safety concern we see is the capacity for on-property front yard snow storage area on the residential lot based on the conflict we see with the required development parking area. And public road allowance, snow storage use by the County of Grey cannot be used by the property owner. If each new lot is permitted to have a primary residential unit with an accessory apartment unit density. One member of the public submitted written comments that we have. Debbie Russell indicated that she would like a proper survey prepared by an Ontario land surveyor. She had concerns surrounding parking for subsequent tenants and subsequent accessory apartments. She also had a concern regarding snow removal and drainage concerns. So I have it, my report is I apologize, a fairly lengthy one, but I am recommending it be approved with a number of conditions subject to that. So what we have here is we have a semi that is on one lot, and they're proposing to divide it into the two individual lots, and those individual lots have the ability for an accessory apartment, and therefore as we were talking about with climate change and whatnot in the previous applications, we want to make sure that flooding and drainage is taken care of. Well, it's all one lot now, where it's easier to do that than if it was two separate owners and two separate lots. So for that, and based on the comments from Public Works and Building Department. I'm recommending the engineered grading and drainage plan be prepared. That if required, by the grading and drainage plan, a 3-meter drainage easement along the rear of the property be registered in favor of the abutting lots. That a survey be prepared by an Ontario land surveyor. And that a development agreement be entered into, which includes an engineered grading and drainage plan, which we talked about, the site plan indicating parking for each new property as a single residential unit and as a residence with secondary dwelling unit on each new lot. The on-property snow storage locations should be shown on this plan that would be in the development agreement, as well as a contingency in there for if there isn't enough, how do you plan to deal with it in terms of removal of the snow? You can't just push it out into the roadway, so there has to be a plan where the township can request that snow be removed if it becomes a safety issue. And lastly, the other standard one is that all outstanding fees, charges are paid, if there are any. And so, based on those conditions, I'm willing to recommend approval of the application.
Okay. Well, I'd comment again on that climate change policy, that hopefully will come forward. There is potential for liability with that snow storage issue, isn't there? Especially with that lady who put the comment in because she wants a survey, and that will affect water on her land. So that's good to have that in there. I certainly agree with what you wrote down there, Clint. John, do you have any comments? Questions?
No comment here.
Just a couple of things to clarify. As far as this severance for the semi is concerned, it's pretty standard that this is done at this time, and I like the conditions on it. As far as secondary apartments, there is criteria, and if I'm not mistaken, there is a permit needed before they can have secondary, and those other requirements have to be met, like the parking and things like that. So it may not qualify for secondary apartments. But as far as the semi goes, and that this is, to me, the rest of it is good standard stuff that you have to do when the semi is built. So I'm in favor of this, but with those conditions. But like I say, it remains to be seen whether secondary apartments could be put in there or not.
Okay. Comments on that, Clinton?
I think now is the time, if there is going to be that potential, for us to make sure that it's done correctly. So that's why we actually don't have a permitting system for accessory apartments. It's just a building permit and fire inspections. So if you build an apartment and you haven't received the appropriate building permits or fire inspections, the fire department can shut it down in a hurry. But
right,
we don't actually have a permitting system for accessory apartments. So that's where there is a bit of a loophole, if you will, in terms of setting these things up. And that's why in this case I think it's appropriate that we look at that, because Main Street is a busy street as well, and we want to make sure it isn't going to create any safety concerns with snow being piled too high that you can't see out of the driveway properly, those sorts of things, or that when it all melts in the spring that somebody's lot gets flooded.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So with the rental units for the apartments, we can move ahead without those permits that John was talking about then?
Yeah, like those are not subject to the application right now.
Okay.
The applicant did note to me that they were planning that, and they've actually already been designed and developed that way with the additional fire separations and whatnot have already been all put in place should that happen. So and I haven't been out there, but I've been told there's extra hydro pedestals there for accessory apartments, which, as I said, there's nothing wrong with the accessory apartment when the property is split. You can't do it now because you actually are only allowed one accessory apartment, not two, unless it's a lot. So you would be creating the secondary apartment, and the snow storage and the parking are the biggest issue. And I can't tell sufficiently whether there's enough parking and snow storage area based on what's submitted, which is why I think the grading and drainage plan and the site plan showing the snow storage and parking areas would be a big help for determining the safety of that and the effect on others.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Okay. Any other questions from the committee? Lindsay, you said he was on the line. The applicant was on the line. Would he like to speak?
He was, but now I don't see his name. Mr. Penny, are you there? So his name was there, and now it's not. So he must have left. It's kind of odd, but
okay.
I guess we'll move to members of the public to speak, and then see if he signs back on.
Yeah. Okay. So are there any others in attendance that would like to speak in support of this application from the public?
This is Debbie Russell. I think all my concerns have been addressed. There is some major issues with drainage, especially the neighbor to the back of us. His backyard becomes a lake if there's any amount of rain. And I thought these issues were brought up in the initial meeting before he built. He did raise the property even more than it already was, so it's a bigger issue than it was. And of course, the parking and the snow, especially the snow. I mean, it's going to be a huge issue based on the amount of snow that we get. And there is maybe between our drive and what he has allotted for a drive, maybe 2 feet. So, yeah, it's going to be a big issue.
Okay. So, are you in favor of this application or in opposition of this application?
I mean, the house is built. There's not much I can do about it. We did have concerns while it was being built, but none of them were addressed, as did the other adjoining neighbor. So the house is there. There isn't much can be done about it. I mean, as long as my concerns are addressed, then I guess I can't really be against it, but I want to make sure that they are addressed this time because our original concerns were not.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. So I'll ask committee members if there's a requirement for any further discussion after what we've just heard.
I think the only thing that I'll comment on is that if there are any issues that come up, Debbie, if you or your neighbor could let the township know right away, then we can get on it. So
yeah, sorry, John. But Dave was speaking to people constantly. We have spoke to people at the township hall, and things just went ahead as if nothing was ever discussed.
Okay.
So we have some concerns as to whether
Hello?
our concerns now are even going to be addressed. So
Can I be heard at all or no?
Yeah. So we'll
On the phone line?
Hold on. Yep.
yeah. So we'll keep up with that then.
okay, thanks,
And-
John.
Yeah, thank you. And whom is this on the line?
This is William Penny.
Oh, good morning, sir.
Morning. I hope you're all doing well.
Yep. Thank you.
So, in May 16th, 2012, when I went through my zoning application process, we addressed the drainage issues in the area. The township came out and they did a survey of all the properties in the backyards. And they went over and they determined that there was some issues with elevations where people had built below the road. And the abutment at the back was below the road and didn't have proper drainage. So they gave an option for everybody to join into a drainage ditch that would be dug and put in place. And nobody wanted to pay a portion of their fee of $459 to resolve the water issues. So the issues were addressed at the time, and the lot was also planned for a semi-detached house in the zoning R3, which allowed for a semi-detached structure. And I submitted a building permit, and I had a site plan on the permit, and the building department approved it, and zoning went through it. So I've submitted a plan for subdivision, and it was given with a permit, and I've adhered to the plan that I gave. So this property was already permitted. So I think all we're supposed to be looking at here is the actual severance of the land. So all I would require, because I've listened to all your other ones, and you didn't require anyone else have a grading plan. So I think all that was required here is that there's a survey done, and if the property meets the setbacks, I can have a semi-detached home. That's all that we're addressing here. There's nothing going on here about auxiliary apartments. That's not what a zoning application for a severance of land is, just like all these other ones. I have no problems from the Grand River Conservation. I would hope that I would have the same requirements as all the other public. There's shown on there in the middle where the property would have for drainage and for snow removal, because I'm not changing the building. I was already given a permit. So I'm trying to figure out here just to make sure I'm being treated equal. I have pictures of every adjoining property to mine, and they've all altered their grades. The property at the back, in the fenced-in area, has adjusted all his grades. Mr. Dillman, when he built in 2011, on the right side, has brought up all his grades. I have pictures of the material that was brought in and all the grading that was changed. The township allowed someone to build a garage in their backyard on one of the abutting properties, and he's completely changed the grades and brought it all up. Now it's causing someone behind us to get water. The water that he is getting from all these people adjusting their grades is not my fault. This is something that should have been addressed in the drainage issues. But because nobody wanted to pay, now I'm supposed to be going through and getting a grading engineer involved with all of this? I don't understand.
Okay, I can answer part of that. So, because nobody wanted to pay, doesn't mean it was the drainage was addressed.
But it doesn't mean it was my issue either.
Yes, it was at the time. It was. And
it wasn't my issue.
I'm speaking now. Thank you. So, to the committee, the drainage was a concern back when the zoning was done.
And the resolution was offered, and nobody wanted to pay for it.
Sir, let Clinton speak, then you can have your
Okay,
chance,
I'm sorry.
please.
Yep.
Yep, no problem.
The drainage was supposed to have been addressed at the time of the zoning. There's been some suggestion by by the neighbors and from our Public Works and Building that it hasn't been satisfactorily addressed. And so it behooves the township to make sure that when we're going through this process that we're not going to make things worse. Okay? And that's the primary reason for requesting the engineered grading and drainage plan.
Okay, so as you'll see on the plan, with when I submitted the plan, it shows the drainage and all the water's being drained from the roof to the front to the back. So I've improved the water issue. I'm controlling my waters on my property to the swales as the Ontario Building Code states that I must. And now you're telling me that I haven't addressed other people's water issues when you've allowed everybody to bring up their properties and build sheds in their backyards and adjust it so that that water's all going onto this person's property. That's not my water that's going on there. I've addressed my water and I'm draining my water to the lot lines as the site plan shows.
Can I finish?
Okay, yes. You approved the site plan. Yes, you can finish. Go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, the township...
Did you approve it?
Excuse me, sir. Let Clinton finish completely.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
The township has to take a look at this. Every application is done on an individual basis for starters. But we have to take a look into safety concerns. And if, in fact, because we don't have a permitting system for things like accessory apartments or parking, which may or may not...
This is regarding accessory apartments. We're not in accessory apartments. I don't understand why we're bringing this up right now.
Sir,
can you please?
This is John Woodbury, the mayor.
I'm sorry, sir.
This procedure that we're going through is set out by the Planning Act. It goes in an order. The planner now is addressing issues. When he is done, then the chair will give you a chance to talk. By you interrupting all the time, what's happening is we're not getting to hear a full story on either side. If you interrupt again, then I may move that we delay this till the next meeting so that we can properly read and understand what's being said.
I apologize.
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury. Continue, Clint.
Okay, so I'm just trying to remember where I was. So with respect to this application, we're dealing with a severance of a semi on a lot, and that's all fine. And we have recommendations. A consent is essentially a 1-unit plan of subdivision. We're asking for he's asking for a next unit, and that in itself is fine. With a subdivision, you can have a subdivision agreement or a development agreement, as we're suggesting in this case, to deal with specific issues of development, whether that be landscaping area, whether that be drainage, whether that be snow storage. Those issues can be specifically addressed in an agreement such as that. And it's done to ensure public safety and to ensure that the development is done correctly. It's true, Mr. Penny did receive a permit for the semi on there. But if we find out that the permit was issued in error because there isn't sufficient drainage on the property, because you sort of build it at your own risk here when you do it before the consent, you may be asked to alter that. So there are some issues that the neighbors have brought up, and we're trying to address those so that the development can proceed. And I stand by my recommendations in my report, and that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Clinton. Mr. Penner, you can have your moment here.
I'm sorry. I just noticed that in all of the other applications for subdivision, that were done today, and not just today, but in the past, these were not standardized things that were asked. And I already gave a site plan, and the town knew my intentions when I did the site plan to sever this property into two. And they allowed me a building permit and gave me a building permit, and they inspected and checked my site plan and gave me a permit to build. I built as per site plan. I've already dealt and talked to Burnside and Associates, and he's looked at it and says I'm in the Ontario Building Code, draining to the swales and the lot lines as I'm supposed to. Just like the one that the town looked at and allowed me to build on because it's done proper as per Ontario Building Code. So now I don't understand. I didn't hear you ask any of these other people, and they're doing big things. You talked about hills and the water and people putting in concrete pads and stopping drainage, and you didn't ask any of them for an engineered grading plan. I want to make sure I'm being treated equal, that's all. The town offered a resolution for the drainage in the past. Nobody wanted to pay for it and join on for it. You guys can check the town records. I don't understand why I'm being treated differently than everybody else. That's all I wanted to address here, and I apologize. Thank you for my time.
Thank you, sir. Well, Jim, John, any comments? Anything else?
Mr. Penny puts up a very strong argument.
There seems to be a lot.
I just want to be treated equal. I'm sorry. I don't think I should have to provide. All I'm supposed to do here, I believe, is to get to prove that I built where I was supposed to, and that I built for the plan that I put in. That was all I thought when you build. I've been building for a lot of years. I've improved. I tried my best. I just thought all I'm supposed to do now is apply for a proper zoning so I can split the lot, right?
Sorry, John, can I just say something? It's Debbie.
It's not up to me. It's Martin is the chair.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Martin, have you just got a sec?
Yes, you may speak.
Thank you so much. With regards to the adjacent properties not paying for the water drainage, that property has always had a water issue. And quite frankly, most of us thought, why should we pay so he could build? So that's all I wanted to say.
My apologies there. So there was always a water issue then?
Oh, that property has always been a lake until it was built up.
Okay.
No, there used to be ducks swimming in that property.
Oh, okay.
I got some nice pictures of it. Yeah, we've been here for 34 years, so we've been seen a lot.
And there's still problems?
Not with our property because we're up just not higher than his, but we're up a little bit higher than the gentleman behind us. And yeah, he has major issues. There always was a few issues there, but it's got 10 times worse.
Well, I don't know what the other committee members think about this, but my only concern is with the property with all the snow storage because of other parking. That's the only thing that really puts a red flag up for me. Mr. Penner, did you say you went through the grading process? Or was
I did, yes.
Clinton?
The front of the property, it has. I went through all of the zoning, and I made sure I met all of the requirements for width driveways. I left a storage space between the two driveways of the properties across the lot line, so that each property has storage for the snow between the properties. There's setbacks proper from the side lot lines for the driveways. There's ample storage to store some of the snow on the sides there. There's down the sides, there's enough room to get snow equipment to move snow to the rear of the property to store the snow if it was required. I can get snow removal if required, just like the township and all of the other places in town, like Foodland. If snow is a big winter, these are things that have to be done when there's snow, right? It's all stated on the plan. It swales properly down the middle to drains where it can straight drain onto the road. It's not flooding the roadway. There's a storm drain there to drain all the water. It's all proper, 100%. I've been doing this forever. I've improved the property drainage in the area by capturing 90% from halfway across my lot to the front, all drains out the property to the front. 3/4 of the lot is now drained to the front of the property, and there's only 1/4 at the back. I've improved all the drainage in the area. I put in French drains down the sides. I'm going to do that same down the other side to collect my water. My water is all properly. My neighbors are not controlling their water properly. They're just freely draining it to the back. And now they're trying to make me suspect for the water that's coming off all these properties now that there's been a shed added in the backyard. I have pictures of it when the shed wasn't there and when all the water had somewhere to go, and now there's a shed there. And there's a new driveway that was put in. He's parked a camper there. He's draining his sump pump water there. He's draining, and now that there's nowhere for the water to go, he's rejecting it all. It's now in this one person's backyard. Same with the other lot, and now it's all there. It is not all. It's not my water. I don't understand why I'm having to go through grading stuff now. I built and was given a permit by the building department, who reviewed my lot plan and allowed me to build a semi-detached house, knowing that the intentions would be to sever the property. And now I don't understand why they're adding all these new stipulations and engineering when no one else is having to do these things. The person who built the shed in the backyard didn't have to do it. They haven't said anything to my neighbors about them bringing up their properties, and I stated to the building department and to the Mr. Sedgwick about these people having changed all their grades, and nothing's been done about these people changing their grades, and now I'm becoming responsible and liable, and I don't think this is fair that you're making it all on me. I have heard all these other town meetings about people adding property, moving property, and I hear nothing about these things. As I said, I just want to be treated the same as everybody else, and I thank you. I'm not going to talk anymore. Have a good afternoon.
Okay, thank you, sir. Question for Clinton. You mentioned the building public works weren't exactly satisfied with what was done. Like, there seems to be two opposing ideas here.
Well, it's actually Public Works and the building department who are recommending the grading and drainage plan be done. So I'm not an engineer, so that's not actually my recommendation, but you have two separate departments from the township requesting that to be done. And so the way I've structured my conditions ensures that that gets done, and that would then address the neighbor's concern with respect to drainage and with respect to snow storage. Because snow storage is a part of drainage, right? So,
would a survey have to be done?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's standard with the semis.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, I'm willing to move it with the existing conditions as set.
Okay. Do you have the seconder?
What was the motion there?
To accept.
Do you want me to read it, Councillor Shipston?
Well, I can read it. It is, be resolved that the Committee of Adjustment received staff report PL 2020-033 for information, and that the severance be approved with the following conditions. that an engineered grading and drainage plan be prepared to the satisfaction of the township, that if required by the grading and drainage plan, a 3-meter drainage easement along the rear of the property be registered in favor of the abutting lots, and that a survey be prepared by Ontario Land Surveyor be provided, and that a development agreement be entered into which includes the engineered grading and drainage plan, site plan indicating parking for each new property as a single residential unit, and as a residence with a secondary dwelling unit on each new lot on property snow storage locations, and provisions for the removal of stored snow at property owners' expense should it become an issue as determined by the Township of Southgate or the County of Grey to ensure public safety, and that all outstanding fees and charges are paid, if any. Okay, Jim? So...
It's quite a tall
I think that's what I mean. I don't think that's a fair
Excuse
order.
me, you're in the middle.
Excuse me. We have a mover and a seconder.
I'm making the motion, and one of the reasons that I'm willing to move it is that properties all are different, and we have done different things in the village, especially because it is different than outer areas. And there seems to be discrepancy on this one on whether how the drainage is done and what it is, and some of it I hear hasn't actually been done, so I'm willing to move it as stands.
Okay.
With this, can I ask a question? I don't understand the 3 meters across the back. I don't see this on any other one. Like if an engineer says I'm draining proper and I don't need a 3 meter, that's a tall order. Like that's asking me to fix everybody else's water problems.
Chair, I'd like to change the motion. I move to defer this, because this is not being handled. There's been some of it thrown out by the applicant. He refuses to follow any of the procedure here, keeps interrupting. So I would move that we just defer this till next meeting. If he has anything further to put in, he can put it in writing, and we can look at it next time the committee meets.
Yeah, thank you, John. I was going to mention in a comment where exactly what you said, what we talked about this morning are all in the country, different things. We're dealing with people next door, frontage on a major road where water is going to be coming off, and I was actually going to put in for deferment anyway. So I'm glad they'll make a motion on that. Because there are things that still are up in the air, and I'd like to hear more comments and actually get some things done with information about the surrounding houses, and there seems to be problems all around there. So I think we can't make a good decision with all this that's up in the air. So I will make a motion for mover and seconder to defer this application to the next meeting on the premise that we will have more information surrounding.
So Chair Shipston, if I might, it's Lindsay.
Yes.
So I'll just, if we could just have the wording just so it's clear, because I'm not sure if we have time for notices right now for the September meeting. So I would just have it worded, be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment receives staff report PL 2020-033 for information, and that the severance be deferred until the next available Committee of Adjustment meeting.
Yes. That would be,
if that's
that would be good. Yeah, that's okay by me, because there's a lot of things up in the air here that I think that should be looked at. Not just his property, but the surrounding property. If there was stuff done, we have to look at that too on their property. So too much on the air to make a decision right now as far as I'm concerned. So Lindsay, that is fine.
So John moved that. We just need a seconder.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could add into that that Jim Ellis and Fisher take a second look at the situation and bring a report forward for the next meeting, and I'll second the motion.
Yeah, that's, could you do that, Lindsay?
Yep, we can put that in. Yep, the Public Works Manager and Jim Ellis and Chief Building Official Bev Fisher report on the application.
Yep. Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, that's carried.
Thank you very much. You have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
The next one on the docket is for Paul and Ina Martin, 7194 Road 124. Oh, that's their mailing address. Sorry.
Just before you start, I just got a phone call. If Barb, if you're still here, yes, you are. I see. I'm not sure the procedure, but can Barb, as the alternative,
So-
step in for me?
We still have quorum at 2 members, so we don't need her to step in.
Okay, I'll have to leave the meeting right now. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, we'll be with you, John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm also on here, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, you're just as the public, Mike, just listening, not as a member.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just trying to find the other one. My apologies. Okay, the applicant for this one is Paul and Ina Martin, 7194 Road 124, Newton, Ontario. And the name of agent is Alan S. Martin, 260145 Southgate Road 26. And was there a request for deferral and withdrawal of this application?
None received.
Okay. And all the signs were put up? Clarification there?
Yes, the sign was posted and proper notice was given.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Is the applicant in attendance? And if they are, they can present their case. Okay, hearing nothing. Clint, if you may.
Okay, so this application is simply a lot merger, basically, where we're adding the small residential lot to the larger farm parcel. So we're trying to get rid of that original consent, and the way that's going to proceed is that we take a road widening off the front of it, so that it no longer maintains its Teflon effect and can be merged back in within the adjoining property then. So that's essentially what's happening, where the road allowance is being taken and then the remainder is going to be added back into the larger farm parcel.
Okay. And did you have any comments?
Yes, so the comments received. I haven't received any comments from the Grey County Planning Department. I looked on our website, there are none for this application, so unless Alicia or Lindsay have them, I do not have any comments from them at this time. Enbridge Gas have no concerns with the application. Hydro One has no concerns. Public Works indicate the road widening is required. Bell Canada have no concerns, and the Township Building Department have no concerns with the proposal. And Blue Water District School Board has no concerns. So really this is a technical severance in terms of it's to add this, to remove a residential lot from the area.
Okay, Clinton. I noticed when I was reading it, the effect, it says to sever the 3-meter strip off one of the small residential lot and deed it to the Township of Southgate to allow the lot to be merged with the farm parcel. A 3-meter road widening has already been taken off the farm parcel. So.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions, Jim?
Yeah, this road widening, you said is required?
It's required in the sense that what we're trying to accomplish here is a severance. Once a severance, always a severance. So the only way to remove that sort of Teflon effect from the Planning Act is to alter that, to take a piece out of that original severance. And the way we're doing that is we do require a road widening because that particular residence has not had a road widening off of it like the rest of the farm. And so we're going to do that. And then in doing that, it will allow the remainder of the lot to be merged with the larger farm parcel.
The reason I questioned that was the roads department says road widening necessary. No.
Yes, so it's not required from maybe a public works point of view, but it's necessary from a technical point of view to achieve the result of merging the lots.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see on the one picture. I can see on the one picture with the easement with the blue little dots and how the other lot is farther and closer to the road. So basically, you're just doing a bit of house cleaning here, aren't you? Just to make it work, right?
Yes, it's a technical severance to merge the lots.
Okay. So with that being said, are there any others in attendance that would like to speak in support of this application? Hearing none, is there any in attendance that would like to speak in opposition of this application? Any other questions, Jim?
No.
Okay. So, can I have a mover?
I'll move it.
And I will second it to grant this application. Lindsay, could you read that for me, please?
Yep. So
Thank you.
motion stands as be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment receives staff report PL 2020-034 for information, and that the severance be approved with the following conditions: that the retained lot be merged with the abutting farm parcel, that the 3-meter road widening have a bylaw passed to dedicate it as part of the public road allowance, that a survey be provided, and that all outstanding taxes, fees, and charges are paid, if any.
Okay. All in favor? Yes. So thank you. And I guess that is what's left on the docket, is it not?
It's been an interesting session.
Yeah, just a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I'm just, yes, so, anyway. Adjournment, can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting, please? Mover,
I'll move it.
and I will second it. So, thank you very much.
Well done, Martin.
try. I'm not a techie. I've got 3 things